Last night, the Ranger bats exploded for 20 runs. And then today, their postseason hopes exploded, along with Corey Seager's appendix.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, coming to this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way we can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about the Rangers' hopes dying this season, along with the appendix of Corey Seager. Before we get into all of that, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Now, this is a special surprise emergency episode, just like an emergency surgery for Corey Seager, who is having his appendix removed today. And unfortunately, after last night's game, Corey Seager, we thought, was just being pulled early because the Rangers were absolutely annihilating the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. But that wasn't the only reason. Now, although Corey Seager's season isn't officially over just yet, it seems like it pretty much is. He was feeling some abdominal pain before Wednesday's game, and then he did not fly with the team. He's undergoing an appendectomy this afternoon, Thursday afternoon, according to President of Baseball Operations, Chris Young. He said he will be missing, quote, a period of time. Not necessarily the most encouraging thing right now. He could be missing as little as 2 to 3 weeks, or it could take the entire 5 weeks remaining in this season. But my goodness, it's at least going to be 3 weeks, which by then the season will have 2 weeks left. And this Rangers team is not exactly in prime position to make up some ground in the standings. They're 6.5 games back in the AL West. They are 4.5 games back right now as I'm recording this in the AL wild card, and the team they are trailing, they do not have the tiebreaker against. So this feels like church. This feels like super church. This is done. This is super over. And I've said that probably 2-3 weeks ago, but man, they were starting to turn it around. This is just the most unfortunate week's worth of injuries I think I've ever seen at the worst possible time. This is in the span of a week. In the same game on Thursday, the Rangers lost both Evan Carter and probably Marcus Semien for the season. I do not want to see Marcus Semien again this season because I do not want him to push back and come back early for this team unless by some miracle they keep on winning without 4 of their best 5 players. They lost all in the span of a week. Marcus Semien fouled the ball off his foot and broke a bone in his foot. He's out minimum of 4 weeks. Last week, probably the entirety of this season. Evan Carter gets hit by a pitch in the right wrist, facing a lefty, gets on base against lefty, broken wrist, done for the year. Right when he was starting to look completely right and healthy after he had gotten all of his back issues under control, dealing with some back spasm, came off the IL and looked really good. And then boom, freak pitch by a freaking Kansas City Royals reliever, and he's done for the year. You think, okay, all right, well, at least they still got Nathan Eovaldi. At least they've still got Jacob deGrom. At least everything is still going fine. That way, theoretically, there could be a Tyler Mahle return, which who knows what's going on with that at this point. And on Friday, right after they lose those 2 guys for the year, Nathan Eovaldi goes out there, throws 7 innings of 1-run ball, and looks incredible in what unfortunately was his final start of the season. On Tuesday, it comes out Nathan Eovaldi, he's done for the year, dealing with some injury in his right shoulder. Horrible news. But the Rangers come back and Patrick Corbin pitches 8 innings of shutout baseball on Tuesday. Everything's looking great after a shutout loss the day before where you thought, okay, well, you can't really afford to lose any more of these games at home. Then the Rangers explode for 20 freaking runs against the Angels in an absolute obliteration, a nuclear annihilation of the Los Angeles Angels, of wherever the heck they are actually from. On Wednesday, you win 5 out of 6 games. You sweep the Guardians after that bad news about Simeon and Carter. Then you win 2 out of 3. And in terms of run differential, you just get that much better in a season where the Rangers' run differential was already incredible. Their actual win-loss record, had it reflected that, maybe this team is in a completely different spot. But then you get this news. You head out on the road for 6 games, 3 against the Oakland, no longer Oakland Athletics, 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who just ripped your heart out 2 weeks ago. And then you have a month of September where you face the Astros 6 times, you face the Brewers 3 times, you face the Mets 3 times, and then you've got a bunch of bad teams outside of that in the final 10 games of the season, final 9 games of the season are all against the Marlins, Twins, and Guardians, all of whom are very bad. You thought, okay, maybe this is when they start to build on this momentum. I mean, it's been time and time again this year where the Rangers have had great homestands, then gone out on the road and tripped over their own feet and pooped the bed and fallen in their own poop bed over their own tripped feet. That's been the story of this season. They have been great at home, horrendous on the road, and this ends probably, almost certainly, what has been an incredible season for Corey Seager. 5.9 baseball reference for, which is the second best season of his career. The only season where he was better was in 2023, and this is only in 102 games. He has been phenomenal this year, not just offensively, but defensively all year long. In the 87th percentile of outs above average at shortstop, he is just a surefire thing out there at shortstop. He is not just a good shortstop for a big guy, a decent shortstop for an elite hitter. This is an exceptional defensive shortstop, and he's not getting mentioned there amongst people who will win a Gold Glove because he's not, making those athletic diving plays. He's not making, massive throws, 95 plus miles an hour. You look at his arm strength, it's not listed as very hard on Baseball Savant, but he's making the throws he needs to make. He makes the surefire play every single time. I mean, there is nobody I felt more comfortable and sure about defensively outside of Marcus Semien of just making every single routine play. That is what that is what Corey Seager does. And he's also hitting the absolute crap out of the baseball. His 21st homer of the season in his final at bat, probably of the year. And he has just been hitting the absolute crap out of the baseball. He is working more walks than he's really ever worked in his career. And you look at his Baseball Savant page, I mean, this is kind of the key of this Rangers team, of like the story of this season, it feels like. You look at his expected numbers versus his actual numbers, it is mind-boggling. His actual numbers are good. He's hitting 271 on the year with 21 bombs. He's got a 373 on base percentage. That's fantastic. He's slugging 487. That's pretty good. Not as good as it should be because his expected slugging percentage is more than 100 points higher than that. More than 100 points higher. His expected batting average is 2 points shy of 300. That's 27 points higher than his actual batting average. So you put his expected batting average into what his actual batting average is, and the expected slugging percentage into what his actual slugging percentage is, and that's a near 1,000 OPS season. That's easily. That's an OPS. It's an on base of 400 and slugging nearly 600. About 590 is the expected slugging percentage. 591. It's just a few points shy of a 1,000 OPS season as a great defensive shortstop. This guy does not get enough love because he is just a boring baseball robot. And had this team hit better for the first 2-3 months of this season, maybe they'd be in a position to survive this, where they'd get, well, at least 2 of these 4 guys they just lost this last week back towards the end of this season. I mean, it's possible Seager comes back in just a couple of weeks, but why are you pushing it at this point? Unless they just go on a crazy winning streak on the road and just turn this 2-game win, not quite streak yet. They go and sweep, the A's and then go and take 2 out of 3 games against Arizona. Then maybe you got yourselves in a spot, but you're still so far out of it with so much work to do in the final month of this season. And to have this season, basically all the momentum come to an end because of a useless appendage on the best player on this Texas Rangers squad explodes at the worst possible time. It's just fitting. As what I said this week is the only way to predict what's going to happen to the 2025 Rangers is just say out loud the dumbest possible thing that could happen at any given moment. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's exactly what did happen. This show is brought to you by Upside. Hey, Locked On Rangers fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store, Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code SEASON and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just by buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought it was too good to be true, but it's totally legit. Real people are getting paid just to make their daily commutes, and you can too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Don't let this offer pass you by. So download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code SEASON for a limited time 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's promo code SEASON. Offer varies by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, well, there won't be a show for me tomorrow, but there will be a show covering every single game. The Locked On Rangers postcast with Jeff Biggs coming to you live in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds, reacting after all 162. Should be an interesting weekend, and thankfully, the last West Coast baseball that the Texas Rangers have to play. I mean, this is just such a frustrating season. And this wasn't even just the best season for Corey Seager offensively. I mean, it was really an up and down season. The first half of this year, heck, the month of June was just really tough on him. You go back and look overall at his numbers, and they don't look as bad as they were for the first couple of weeks of June. He was really fighting to find his swing. He had been dealing with some other injuries earlier on this season. I mean, he looked fine at times. He had a couple of homers in the month of May, and he only played 8 games in that month. He looked all right in the month of April and March at 813 OPS. He was just kind of fine, still fighting to find that swing, change up his batting stance a bunch of different times early on this season. But defensively, it felt like he took that next step forward this year. I mean, just making so many routine, surefire plays, barely ever having an error on the season. And just overall, what he's done as a member of the Texas Rangers is just truly incredible. An 872 OPS in 4 seasons with the Rangers. You look at the last couple of seasons, 860 is the lowest OPS for him in a full season as a member of the Texas Rangers in the last 3 years. I mean, it was a little bit lower in a 772 OPS that first year in Texas where he was healthy. He played 151 games, but he's missed about 40 games per season the last 3 years with different injuries of hamstring injuries the last couple of years, a little bit of an oblique tweak, I believe. It's been tough to keep him on the field, but when he's been on the field, he has been incredible. I mean, a 7.2 baseball reference for a season in 2023, that is so difficult to find in less than 120 games. The man is an absolute freak. He is a legend. He is a surefire baseball robot, perfectly calibrated to just obliterate baseballs. And that's what you go out there and you get. He's still just 31 years old. He's still very much in his prime. And to have one of his prime years, cut down like this in just such an unlikely and weird season. I mean, it is truly such a perplexing season. And the fact that it probably ends this way with the Raiders, a plus 80 run differential. Their expected win-loss record is nearly 10 games better than their actual wins-loss record. It is just kind of goes to show you where this season has gone off the rails, is where it's gone off the wayside. I mean, all of this happening. I mean, time and time again, the Rangers have had moments of momentum, have had moments where you thought, okay, now they're kind of starting to turn things around. I mean, that series against the Astros heading into the All-Star break, things were looking good. They won 2 out of 3 heading into the All-Star break, and then they won 8 out of 9 games coming out of the All-Sstar break. You thought, all right, this team is finally turning some things around. Immediately, they poop the bed against the Angels on that West Coast road trip. Immediately, they get their teeth kicked in by the Mariners. And if the Rangers win all 3 games in Oakland, they have a chance to have a 500 month, despite having a truly mostly abysmal month of August. The first 2 weeks of it was just downright horrible. Heck, the first 3 weeks of it was just downright horrible. Only over the last week has it looked any better, winning all 3 games against Cleveland and winning 2 out of 3 games against the Angels. The Rangers got swept by the Phillies. They got lost 2 out of 3 games against the Diamondbacks, and 2 games where they absolutely should have won. Absolutely should have won 2 of those 3 games. They probably shouldn't have won that game on the 11th where Nathan Eovaldi got rocked for the only time this year. And then they proceeded to have their best comeback victory of the year. And then they fall apart in the next 2 games. They fall apart in Toronto, 2 straight games. And then they fall apart 3 out of 4 games in Kansas City with plenty of chances to win those games that they absolutely should have been winning. And heck, they even had 2, great comeback wins against the Yankees right before they got swept by the Phillies, and everything started falling apart again. It has just been so many times where you think, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe this is where they start to turn things around. I mean, even the month of July, early July, I mean, they won those 2 games against the Orioles. They had a couple of games that they squandered against the Angels that month. I mean, heck, even the back half of June, things started looking a little bit better. They had those 2 games against the Twins where they just obliterated them for 16 runs in both of those. They sweep the White Sox, and then they got swept at home by the Royals. They win 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. They win 2 out of 3 against the Orioles, and then they get beaten 2 out of 3 games against Seattle at the back end of that month. It's just such a utterly confusing team that makes absolutely no sense. Like, even the first month of the season, they looked pretty darn good. They couldn't do much offensively, but they were still finding ways to win games because they've gotten so many things that have gone right this year that they did not expect. Things like, Patrick Corbin getting you 25 starts of basically a league average starting pitcher. Jack Leiter making that next step, 23 starts for him so far this year. And, as of late, he's looked really darn good. Tyler Mahle being absolutely found money, where heading into the season, I wasn't sure that Tyler Mahle was going to even make a start. It seemed like the fastball velocity was backing up. I mean, he came back for 3 starts last year, less than 12 innings after coming back from Tommy John surgery, and he was dealing with shoulder soreness. You thought, okay, well, that's really not boding well. He comes in and he gives you 14 starts and a 2.3 ERA, and he's absolutely incredible. And then he goes down June 10th. We have not seen him since, and I don't know that we will see him again in a Texas Rangers uniform. And that's not to mention Jacob deGrom's been healthy all year long, just miraculously. He's been pitching like basically the Jacob deGrom that we expected. And Nathan Eovaldi, who has had the best year I think I've ever seen from any Texas Rangers pitcher. They gave you 22 starts, 130 innings of a 1.73 ERA. He was absolutely phenomenal. And still, it seems like this team might finish with a sub 500 record. They're almost certainly going to miss out on the postseason. And the final nail in the coffin coming from this? No. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. This season is so incredibly, monumentally stupid. Oh, and I didn't even remember that, on Monday of last week, you want to extend back this bad injury luck streak to Monday. Jake Berger, who was just looking like he was starting to turn things around, he has to head on the IL. I think he might be eligible to be activated in this Friday game. But I mean, who even knows who's left here at this point? And it makes me look up and down this roster. I mean, this is going to be a Baseball Reference page that haunts me for years to come. People are going to look at this 2025 Texas Rangers Baseball Reference page and say, well, they had how good of an expected wins-loss record? They had how good of a run differential? They had all these pitchers having these seasons, and you look overall at the offense, you had Langford's having a 4.5 win season, Adolis Garcia's having a 3 win season, Semien, Seager, both of them having 3+ win seasons. How did this team miss the postseason? Well, it's only in the stupidest possible way. So what now? We're going to talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization for your spending, and finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. It makes life so much easier balancing money with your partner. It just makes seeing all your finances in one place. You can get a clear view of those finances, know exactly what you're spending your money on and how much, and curb those bad spending habits. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On Monday's show, we'll be back and talking about this series against the A's. And God bless you if you are still a Locked On every day or listening to Locked On Rangers every single day, because I imagine the vast majority of you, I know already, the vast majority of you have left this podcast behind for the season, deciding, yep, I'm done caring about the 2025 Texas Rangers. It's football season. I mean, college football starts week 1 on Saturday, then the NFL is back on Thursday. Cowboys are back to vent your frustrations at. Surely that season will end up differently than the Texas Rangers season of a lot of hope and promise, all for nothing. Alas, that is not the case. And we are left here with about 4.5 weeks left in this season, wondering, what the heck now? What the heck now? What is left with this deal? I anticipated doing today's show. I started on Monday planning out my week, saying, all right, there's an off day on Thursday, so let's see if we could do, a 5 things left to determine, what the Rangers, 5 things that will determine whether the Rangers will or will not make the postseason. That was my plan for this final episode, 5th episode of the week, but there's no plan for that. 5 things that will determine it. Well, 1, Jake Berger injury. 2, Marcus Semien injury. 3, Evan Carter injury. 4, Nathan Eovaldi injury. 5, Corey Seager injury. There's the 5 things. It's determined. It has been predetermined that this Rangers season just would not go. And it truly does feel like a curse. Like the Rangers gave up everything for just enough things to bounce right in 2023. For just enough things to go their way. I mean, there was not really a juggernaut in the American League in 2023. I mean, kind of, if you want to count the Baltimore Orioles, I know a few Fox broadcasters that certainly did, and the Raiders took them down easily. They swept them. I mean, the Rays, who they took out pretty easily in that first round, a 99-win team, Raiders took them out pretty easy. It took 7 games to finish off the Astros in the ALS in just a truly one of the greatest ALCSs we've seen in the last few years. And then I'm not saying the Rangers were lucky, because I still think they could have beaten anybody that came out of the NL, whether it was the Dodgers, whether it was who the Arizona Diamondbacks swept, by the way, whether it was the Phillies, who nearly ended up in that World Series. I still think the Rangers could have taken them and could have won a World Series. I don't think it would have been as quickly and easily done in 5 games as the Rangers did against the Diamondbacks, but I still think they could have done it. Or even if it was the Braves who made it past the Phillies in their series, or the Padres, or whoever the heck it was back in 2023, I still think they could have had some things break their way. I mean, but they had a legitimately really great team, but they had just enough injury luck at exactly the right time of Jordan Montgomery going on the best 4-month stretch of his life, if you count from the trade deadline to what he did in that postseason. He was absolutely incredible. Nathan Eovaldi with one of the greatest postseason performances I've ever seen, time and time again. And everybody else in a bullpen that was one of the most frustrating, finicky, suspect, just straight up bad bullpens I think I've ever seen. 3 guys caught fire in a way that they had not, well, 2 of them had not ever before and may not ever again, for a month, to just be absolutely untouchable. Josh Sborz, who hasn't pitched at all in the big leagues this year, probably will not, still trying to come back from a shoulder surgery that he had last offseason. Who knows if he's ever going to get that velocity back. He's been in the low 90s, and we'll see. Jose Leclerc, he's been dealing with an injury for basically this whole year. I think he had a torn UCL, but I could be wrong on that. And he wasn't particularly great for the A's in the first couple of games when he was pitching for them. And we've all seen how suspect Jose Leclerc can be at times. And heck, he even lost his closer job in the first 3 weeks of 2024, right after that miraculous 2023 World Series run. I mean, they had a healthy Evan Carter who has chronic back issues. They had a healthy Corey Seager. They had a healthy Marcus Semien. They had a healthy Josh Young at exactly the right time. Heck, they had a healthy and good Mitch Garver, which he hasn't been since that 2023 World Series. They had Adolis Garcia on the heater of his freaking lifetime in that postseason. And even he couldn't make it all the way to the very end of that season. But it can't help but feel like a deal with the devil the Rangers struck with how poorly things have gone these last 2 seasons. I mean, 2024, you think, okay, well, it's a World Series hangover. It happens to the best of teams. Heck, it's even happening to the Dodgers right now, who signed plenty of people that it should have been to a point where, there was no World Series hangover. I mean, plenty of guys that they brought in, you thought, okay, well, those guys aren't dealing with the adverse effects of a long postseason run and a month-long shorter offseason than they're used to. And they still have just been bit by random thing after random thing. They might still end up going back to the World Series, but I mean, they've had a lot of things go wrong for them this year. And then this year, when you get so many things going right, this is the best run preventing team I've ever seen from a Texas Rangers squad. It is not particularly close. You combine what they've done with the pitching staff, with the bullpen of so many things that all pretty much worked out. I mean, Robert Garcia has been, up and down, and Luke Jackson was not the best signing. He had some moments for sure, but you look at the rest of this bullpen, and for the most part, they've been pretty darn good. I mean, Robert Garcia in a lower leverage role now has been really good. Hobie Milner has been great all season. Sean Armstrong has been great all season. Heck, Cole Winn has been absolutely found money. And, well, the 2 guys that they traded for, Maton and Coulomb, have been pretty terrible in some pretty big spots. But overall, I mean, with what they've done with Jack Leiter, with Patrick Corbin, with Nathan Eovaldi, with Jacob deGrom, with Tyler Mahle, even at times Kumar Rocker this year. And not only that, but being one of the best defensive teams in all of baseball. I mean, you look everywhere on this diamond, and the initial, starting guys you'd have, penciling in on your opening day lineup. Jonah Heim, great defender behind the dish. Jake Berger, really good defender at first base, which we did not expect. Seager and Semien up the middle, incredible. Josh Young, or it's Josh Smith at third base, both great defenders. And then in the outfield, you have Evan Carter patrolling center field, Adolis Garcia with a truly phenomenal defensive season in right field, and it looks like he might be heating up when there's literally nobody left for the Texas Rangers at the end of this season. That would be nice to just get that confidence for Adolis Garcia heading into next year. And Wyatt Langford being an incredible defender, whether he's in center field, whether he's in left field, and also being a pretty darn good hitter. You have all of those things happening, and it's still just not enough. You signed Rowdy Tellez off the scrap heap after the Mariners said, nah, to heck with him. We don't need him. He has an 835 OPS. Still not enough. Jock Peterson comes back after a horrendous first 3 months, and he is looking like he's back, and it still might not be enough. He finally got his OPS over 600. For it feels like the first point in this season, where at points when it was truly at its lowest, it was 430, 450 OPS as a guy who you signed to just mash right-handed pitching, which he did not do for the first 3 months of the season. He's starting to turn around, but it looks like it might just be too little too late. I mean, there is only so many slings and arrows that this team can suffer. There's only so many things that you can go through and come back from. And losing your 2 cornerstones in the middle of this infield, it feels like too much. Losing them, plus Evan Carter, plus Nathan Eovaldi. You lose 3 out of those 4 guys, maybe. You lose everyone but Seager. Maybe you're squinting and looking and seeing, okay, well, what can they do in this road trip and their final few West Coast games this season, which they've been horrible in West Coast time zone games. It has been truly abysmal to watch. Maybe you're thinking, okay, well, they got a homestand that they'll have the Astros for 3 and the Brewers for 3. The Brewers are not as untouchable as they were, a month ago. Still really darn good, but not that untouchable. Maybe you get a chance there. Then you got a road trip, the final road trip. Well, I guess final multi-city road trip of the year, with 3 games at Citi Field and 3 games in Houston, where the Rangers have played pretty darn well, including in that 2023 postseason where they did not lose a single game in Houston, in case the people forgot. And then you got 9 games to end the season against bad teams. Theoretically, that would be possible, but would you just keep losing player after player after player in just heartbreaking, gut-wrenching fashion? Just the littlest of random things. It just feels like one thing too many. And it is just such an absolutely maddening way for this season to almost assuredly end. In a season that has been beyond frustrating, beyond maddening, beyond hair ripping out for even the most casual of fans of watching this team. Like, why can't you just be better? And right when it seems like they were getting better, they might be doing that thing. They might actually go on some kind of run. And if you get to the postseason, you've got Nathan Eovaldi, and you've got Merrill Kelly as your 3-star. You got Jacob deGrom, and who knows, maybe Tyler Mahle is working his way back at that point. Then even if this offense is, limped and battered and broken and bad, then you can still find your way against any of these honestly pretty aggressively mediocre teams in the American League, the Rangers included, maybe even the most mediocre of these teams. But when you dig yourself in this much of a hole and you get this much bad luck all happening at the exact same time, boy, does it just feel like one stone too much. And like I said earlier, this has just been a season where the stupidest possible thing happens, and an appendectomy from your star player after a game where you just scored 20 runs feels like the dumbest possible way for the dumbest season to almost assuredly end. That's going to do it for this week's shows. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, please try to find some way to enjoy baseball, or at least enjoy your appendix.